everybody. Welcome to the Buckeye Weekly Podcast. I'm Tony Gerdeman, here as sometimes with Kevin Noon. Kevin, how's it going?
It's going well. I've not entered the portal yet, so I guess you guys are going to be stuck with me because the only way I'd have any extra time is if I was a grad transfer, and I have commitment issues. I don't finish anything.
Well, you still do have a few hours to hit the portal. It's not yet closed entirely. It does close at probably, 11:59. And, of course, the reason we are talking to you right now, breaking news of Ohio State redshirt freshman linebacker Nigel Glover hitting the transfer portal, and we'll see if in the next 10 to 12 minutes anybody else hits the portal as we are talking about this, because, again, this is the last day to do it. So if you're going to do it now. We're all procrastinators on for many different things in many different ways, and so maybe this is going to be some of that hitting the last couple of minutes, hours here. But Nigel Glover, Kevin, when we think about Nigel Glover's time at Ohio State, it started, last July when he came over from Northwestern?
Right. He came over after all the fallout from Pat Fitzgerald being dumped by the Wildcats with hazing allegations, and I'm careful to say allegations, all sorts of legalities going on still with that one, as Fitz is still trying to do something through the court system. I'm not exactly sure. I haven't followed that one once it kind of disappeared, but he comes over to Ohio State, doesn't think, just wants to, come back to, he's an Ohioan, wants to come home. Lo and behold, Northwestern goes on and has probably one of the most impressive, seasons in college football compared to what the expectations were. But now Nigel Glover is in the portal because, let's be honest, linebacker is a bit of a jammed up position, especially when you're running a 4-2-5 and your 2 is at linebacker. And when you're still trying to figure out how to get Sonny Styles out there, when you obviously have Cody Simon and then CJ Hicks, Gabe Powers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm sure we'll get into all of that. It just wasn't nearly the type of clear path that I think that he may have been hoping for. I don't want to get into his head. I don't know exactly what he was thinking, but yeah, I mean, today is going to be the day. I think probably won't be the last podcast I do today, to be quite honest, as people are trying to finally get in position. I think the final conversations with families have been had, and people know what's what.
And right now, this isn't necessarily a matter of Ohio State pushing guys out because of numbers. They've got numbers. They're under the limit. So, they can carry anybody they want with them. And it doesn't seem like they've been overly aggressive in the portal right now because there's not much out there remaining. But Glover, and I just looked at the story that I wrote, so I should have remembered this, arrived in early August. So as camp was starting last year, that's when he was getting to Ohio State. So he was always going to be behind everybody else. You arrive late like that. Quinn Ewers, not good enough to play at Ohio State, had to, move to Texas. But the late arrivals are always going to really jam things up. We talk about guys, he didn't get here till June, so he never really had a chance. Try getting here in August and see how much of a chance you have. But this is a kid who was a 4-star recruit, the number 7 player in Ohio in the class of 2023, was a tweener, was a safety, did not get an offer from Ohio State, and then kind of grew as a senior and became a linebacker. And then everything happens at Northwestern, and he comes back home, essentially, from Clayton, Ohio, I believe. And you mentioned that linebacker situation. We saw them this spring, and he was running with the threes at times, trying to stay ahead of Garrett Stover. And if you already have a true freshman that is kind of even with you or even surpassed you, your options become pretty limited.
They do. And I think it goes to illustrate, and I'm jumping to a little bit of a different position, but JT Tuimoloau committed on the 4th of July in his cycle, and then, makes his way to Columbus and gets in, late, but is able to play a significant amount of playing time. It is not an easy thing to pull off, and that is certainly something that didn't help Glover. But yeah, I think he saw what the depth situation was going to be. And I think that when you are a younger player and you opt for the portal, you still have all of the dreams of, I'm going to go and I'm going to string together several years as a great collegiate player and go on, hopefully, to the next level. I don't think anybody enters college football without having at least NFL aspirations. I mean, I think some people may realize, I probably don't have it, but I still want to go and do all of that. But maybe when you look at some older players who've gotten comfortable, well, I mean, I know where the food is, and I know where what I'm supposed to be doing and everything else. And maybe this football thing is more of a vehicle to get me a college degree and everything else. But with Glover just going into year 2, it is not as much of that. I mean, he's going to be able to find somewhere to play. Now, there's, of course, I think the speculation is going to be, well, where do you think he's going to go? And we could, I think we could all speculate, but we don't know. I mean, he's just went in the portal only a few minutes ago from the time that we started recording this. We don't know who's starting to show interest there, but yeah, Ohio State not over the 85 limit. So does this mean that they identify somebody out there potentially? I don't know. I mean, is this a chance to give some deserving walk-on scholarship recognition? Maybe. But let's not forget, too, that I think that the line between what a scholarship player is and isn't has really been blurred recently. You can feed, you can have all the snacks and everything else, training table, whatever, and there's NIL and other scholarship opportunities out there. So it's not as much of a line between the two things.
Yeah. Imagine turning in like receipts, like $8,000 in snacks. Hey, I'm allowed. This is what I do. But I had somebody from a school out west checking with me about Nigel Glover, and I'm like, he just never really got any traction at Ohio State. Arrived late. I assume he's a very good athlete because he played safety. He was a bigger safety. Then you take that speed to linebacker, but it just never happened. And he needs to be in a place for more than 10 months, the 10 months or whatever that he was at Ohio State, 9 months. And probably 8 months at Northwestern, assuming he was like an early arrival, 7 months at Northwestern. So he's got to be in a place long enough for him to finally just grow roots and develop and find a role and get enough practice tape in there. So we'll see where he ends up. That linebacker situation, like you said, there's only 2 guys out there. They'll play some more 3 guys this year just because maybe they really like their 3, but you've got to remove somebody else. So good luck with that. I wonder if he's just going to go with everybody else, like go to Colorado, But did you see the Shedeur Sanders tweet earlier on Tuesday, where The Athletic did some story with some of the guys who had transferred or left Colorado or had been pushed out, and so the guy they were talking to, had a quote, and Shedeur tweets out like, "I never even heard of this guy. He must have been mid." And I'm like, this is your director of recruiting, at least on offense. So I don't know if he's going to be heading to Colorado, but your thoughts on the whole Colorado situation right now?
Oh boy, Colorado. I mean, also remember, you're talking about presumed number 1 overall draft pick Shedeur Sanders, according to at least one of the mock drafts that I've seen. But I reminded everybody on a show I did on the Big Me Kickoff, also available here at youtube.com/Buckeye Huddle, that there was a mock draft that had 7 Banks number 1 overall, and that didn't necessarily work out. So don't get too caught up on those things. Is Dion going to be completely bored with it all when his sons are gone and he doesn't have his director of offensive recruiting and defensive recruiting or whatever the hell? I don't know. I mean, I run into a buzzsaw on social when I sit there and I'm critical of Colorado. Well, you just don't like Dion or whatever. And I'm like, I'm a Cowboys fan. I had several years very pro Dion. I don't dislike him. I don't really like his Aflac commercials. They annoy the hell out of me. But, I don't know how you expect to get any traction turning over your entire roster year 1, turning over half your roster in year 2. I mean, is the goal to only turn over like a quarter of your roster in year 3? I mean, I don't really see a path to victory. I think that, I think that this is just, we're just kind of playing out the string there.
It'll be interesting to see. They went from 1 win before he was there to 4 wins last year. I do think, though, Kevin, you say you don't hate, you liked him, you don't hate him. You hated him when he was at the 49ers. You can admit it.
I wasn't a big fan of his at that moment, but that doesn't mean that there are certainly players that I don't know who watches our show, so I'm going to be careful, but there's certainly players in the NFL that I've gone and watched in the past, and I'm like, I don't like that guy. I don't like him. Why? I don't know. I just don't like him. Do you know him personally? No. Then why don't you like him? He's too good. I don't like him because he is too good and he plays for a team I don't like.
I mean, that's just the nature of sports. It is amazing how much more you'll like people if you actually get to talk to them, or you might find out, hey, the other thing is never meet your heroes. But so this is what, the 5th guy to hit the portal for Ohio State?
6, I think, because there was 4 going into today, and we've seen 2 today.
Enoch from Mahi earlier. Tom and I talked about that on the morning show, so you can check that out, Buckeyes Tomorrow Morning, on YouTube on this YouTube channel, youtube.com/Buckeye Huddle. Hit the thumbs up on this one if you would like, and of course you can find that podcast everywhere else. You can find Kevin's Big Me podcast on all of your podcast platforms, and of course YouTube as well. And right now, Kevin, at Buckeye Huddle, we are running a spring sale, an annual subscription to Buckeye Huddle. Get behind the paywall. Check us out on the message board. Like a 45% sale price, or 45% off, $69.99 right now for the entire year. I suggest you take advantage of it. We've seen a lot of people taking advantage of it, and I would recommend doing
Most people are necessary.
Yeah.
Just sign up for annual. It'll automatically reflect. You don't have to know a pesky code or anything like that. And Tony, there's a rumor that one of our favorite features of the year may be coming up here soon, a little Southern swing, if you will.
So interesting. That's always something we always look forward to. And it is, from what I've been told, it's going to be significant. I won't say anything further because I've been instructed not to by Kevin right here. So I will let him explain things further at a later date, although not that much later. Anyway, that will do it for us, for Kevin, for me. Thank you all for tuning in, and we will talk to you guys later.